All right, as you saw there, it was mid-February when the president launched that $75 billion housing plan. Just yesterday, adding to that, the president announcing additional mortgage modification initiatives. While it's certainly early to have any kind of gauge of the effectiveness of all this, and in major markets, we do see that prices are continuing to fall. We saw it in the Case-Shiller Index this week. You're looking here at the top 5 cities with the biggest home declines. I mean, compared to February of 08, look at Phoenix, 35% to the downside. Las Vegas, almost 32%. San Francisco, home prices down 31%. Miami, 29.5%. LA, down more than 24%. The glimmer of hope, such as there is one, this is actually the first time in a year and a half that price drops have not set a record. So we're not seeing record declines anymore, but it's still pretty bad out there 100 days into the Obama administration. So the question we're asking tonight is, have home prices hit bottom 100 days in? Strong panel here from 3 of those 5 cities that we just showed you. I'm joined, first of all, by real estate analyst Dani Babb, who's here with me in New York. In Las Vegas tonight, Mark Stark is with us, runs Prudential Americana Group's that's Nevada's largest real estate company. In Miami, Peter Zalewski, who runs Condo Vultures, and John Rutledge of Rutledge Capital in Irvine, California. Let me go to you first, Dani, on housing. I mean, certainly the initiatives are out there. We said $75 billion. What's working, or is anything working right now?
Well, nothing's really working. When I talk with banks, and I've called 19 of them in the last couple of weeks, when I talk with banks, they say, call us tomorrow because chances are the programs will have changed. We don't know what the plan is. We don't know what's acceptable, what's not. The 7 to 9 million people that were supposed to be helped by the restructuring program, it looks like that's going to be close to around 500,000. And we know that exactly 1 person was actually helped by the Hope Now program. Okay, well, so if you want to call that success.
That person, by the way?
That's a very good question.
All right, Peter, you're on the ground there in Miami. Is Dani right? I mean, is nothing working yet, or is that an overstatement?
Danny's absolutely correct on an administrative perspective. On a psychological perspective, what we're seeing is there's a certain urgency that's starting to be created by first-time home buyers as well as those investors who are fearful as the Obama administration starts to bring credit back to the marketplace. Some of those great deals for all-cash buyers are going to start to disappear. Let me just give you one example. Week of Thanksgiving, we track active properties that are available in South Florida. Week of Thanksgiving, 108,000 properties for sale. Monday, 2 days ago, 89,000 properties for sale in a time when there's virtually no financing available in South Florida. So product is moving. It's the all-cash buyers and it's the first-time home buyers taking advantage of the $8,000 credit.
All right, that's very interesting. How about Vegas, Mark?
Well, I have to say that, instead of saying it's not working, I just don't see anything that's been done that we can gauge to work or not. I mean, The only thing that has come out is the $8,000 first-time home buyer credit, tax credit, and the amazing thing is that's the one category that did need the help. So the people who really need the help are the ones not getting it.
What would you have liked to have seen? I'll just go back to you, Mark, on this real quick. What would you have liked to have seen done differently then? What was left out of this plan?
Well, one of the aspects is a tax credit for all people. I mean, nothing against first-time home buyers. I'm thrilled. Let's help them. But let's help all qualified buyers to buy, not just first-time home buyers. The other aspect that is so key is when we talk about helping the individuals who are actually going through this crisis, what about a credit reprieve? That if you did have a short sale or a foreclosure on your personal residence, but the rest of your credit is good, give you some sort of reprieve. Let you buy instead of holding you out, like, to be blunt, like you're a dirtbag now because you went through this problem.
Right. No, I get it. So the point, John, that Mark is making is essentially that there's been too much left out of this plan as opposed to what's been left in it or what's been put in it. What do you think about what's been done so far?
I think there's way too much that's been put in it. And here's what I mean by that. There have been programs created to allow the banks to package and sell certain kinds of securities in massive volumes. What I'm talking about is these alphabet programs, TARF, BARF, and all the others. And they will allow an investor to buy up those packages and make huge returns almost guaranteed by the government. I see that from the other side where I chair an investment company. I've seen hedge funds driving in. That will help unclog certain parts of the market, but it has also shut down banks' willingness to do anything else besides feed those programs.
Right.
So it's shut down the jumbo market, as Dani talks about. It's shut down the home equity lines. It's shut down everything else. And so I think it's a bad way to try and attack the banks.
All right, Danny, take it from there.
Yeah, no, John's absolutely right. The jumbo market is locked out. I called 19 banks, 18 of them are not doing jumbo loans today unless you have a 65% loan-to-value ratio. You show me somebody in this market that has a 65 LTV.
Right.
The banks...
Jumbo, we should point out, is the higher-end mortgages.
Yeah, well, actually, it's not even all that high-end if you look at the two coasts. Absolutely. Yeah. Banks do not want to lend right now in a program that the government will not buy the security. So if it's not FHA or Fannie or Freddie, the banks simply don't want to lend it.
Is there a way, Peter, that we fix that problem that Danny and John are pointing out, or do you think it's a problem?
Well, what I can tell you, being down here on the ground in Miami, and I go out to the West Coast, San Diego, I go out to Las Vegas market a few times a year. What I'll tell you, what's happening here in Miami, I really feel like we went over the cliff a lot earlier than some of the other markets.
Yeah.
Interesting thing that we're seeing is that the local lenders in Florida, the Florida-based institutions that are sound, not the ones that are in trouble, they're starting to move in this marketplace, and they're trying to look at this as an opportunity to build a book of business. So they're going after some of those would-be clients of the future and providing some financing. And granted, they need to portfolio it, but they at least understand it. The criteria that we typically tell people if they're looking for financing is that A, you're going to have personal recourse. B, you're going to probably look at a maximum loan amount of 60%. But C, it's got to be within a 2-hour driving distance of that banker's office, so the banker could get in a car and on a whim go and check out the property and make sure it is what they say it is.
All right. What is that? The similar situation then, Mark, out in Vegas, or is it different there on that? In terms of the lending actually happening.
Well, no, lending is going on, but it's certainly on the lower end for a couple reasons. One is the qualification aspects. Banks are still being extremely tough. Guys, here's what we got to look at of what the facts were. A year and a half ago, 18 months ago, and I'm not agreeing with how this was done, but, you had no money down and people were lending at 125% of value. Now you have a 750 FICO score with 25% down, and you can't get a loan. And so the pendulum has swung so drastically to the other side, it's hindering the market overall. The other aspect of it is everyone continues to try and generalize the market. And you're just not going to have the facts. You cannot look at all price ranges, all areas of the market, and come up with the same answers. And they try and do a global program that will answer all these questions. And that's why all these mistakes are made, as one of the other gentlemen mentioned earlier, and then a lot of billions of dollars are wasted where we should have put them in a place that they could work.
All right, so now we've thrown around all the issues here on housing. Another big issue, first 100 days of the administration. Finally, around the horn real quick. Buy, sell, or hold the administration's housing initiatives in days 1 through 100. John Rutledge, I'm afraid to start with you, but I think I know the answer. Please.
Sucks. They've gone after banks.
We have a screener to check out John's cards out there? You get away with anything in California.
I am 130% invested in banks right now because the banks are being fed by the government in a way that does not solve the problem in the real estate market.
Danny, keep it clean, please.
I will, absolutely. It's a sell because credit is not a public utility, and we had Summers come out this week that said it will be fantastic when inventory is depleted so we can rebuild more inventory like we don't have enough of them already.
All right, a sell, that's a little bit better. Mark in Vegas.
I will keep it clean, but I'm still on a sell. Definitely on a sell.
We have... for argument's sake, we have 3 cells if we do a translation on Dr. Rutledge out there, right? All right, Peter, you're last.
I'm definitely a sell. We work on the buy side, and we want nothing more than to bleed the market. Keep the financing out. Let's get the biggest discount possible.
All right, 4 sells. Again, translating for Rutledge again. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Good to see all of you guys. I'm telling you, we need a screener on John next time. We want to know what all you guys think about the 100 days. The first 100 days of the Obama administration as well. Again, we're taking your votes right now. Buy, sell, or hold the first 100 days. So text your vote in. 369-249. 369-249 is the number. And when we return, how small businesses fared in the first 100 days. That's next on Scoreboard. All right, we're talking about the first 100 days of the Obama administration. There's 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and that's the side of the big news conference tonight for the president. And we want to ask the question now about small business. How has small business fared in these first 100 days of the Obama administration? And we had the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, as it's called, providing $730 million to the Small Business Administration. But is that money working? Was it enough? Our next two guests both have skin in the game, which is good. Overstock CEO Patrick Byrne joins us tonight, and Eskedozi Chocolate's Sean Eskedozi also joins us. We also want to welcome back both Dani Babb and John Rutledge to talk about this. Patrick Byrne, let me go to you first. And Overstock, how would you rate this administration's dealing with, smaller businesses like your own? Has that money helped?
No, it's pretty baubles on the tree. I actually give Obama high scores for leadership and cheerleading, but the lifeblood of business, small or large, is credit, and credit means the banking system. And he should be focusing maniacally on fixing the banking system, and instead the plans such as this are pretty baubles on the tree, but they don't fix the underlying problem.
All right, so you're okay, but sometimes the complaint, Patrick, as you know, has been that, hey, they're not spending enough on small business, but you're okay with that as long as they fix the larger problems, it sounds like.
Well, I love small business and everything that encourages small business. I love entrepreneurship, and I love all that, but to me it's to switch metaphors, it's giving nice spanking new sunglasses to a guy having a heart attack. We're having a heart attack. Our credit system's having a heart attack, and they're dancing around with nice little sunglasses they're giving to small. That's not the main event. They should be fixing the banking system, and they're not focused on doing the right things there.
All right, we could talk more about you don't think they're focused enough. They probably argue differently. Sean, what's your point of view?
Well, first of all, for us, hey, things are great. I mean, I'm in the middle of my chocolate factory. Sales are up 50% from this time last year. But I've got a lot of brothers and sisters who are not faring the same as we are. And I would 100% agree that he needs to maniacally focus on fixing the credit liquidity problem. And, the thing is he's a great cheerleader, but he's cheerleading us into a train wreck. So I'm going to give him an F-. But here's the thing. Here's the message that the administration is sending. Not one member of cabinet has ever run a business. Not one member of the Council on Economic Advisors has run a business, or the National Economic Council. None of those guys or ladies have ever run a business. And we don't even know who our Secretary of Commerce. Can anybody name who our Secretary of Commerce is?
What are you doing?
No, that's the whole point. That's the whole point. This guy needs to be a rock star, and same with the SBA. New administrator, Karen Mills. I mean, she's a former VC person. We need somebody out there looking out for small business.
But whatever their backgrounds are, what are they specifically getting wrong? In other words, Patrick comes on and says they need to focus on credit. The administration would say, hey, we're doing it with all these programs that we've thrown out.
Well, but they're doing it in the wrong way. And I go back to October 3rd, 2008. That was the demarcation point for me. All these guys voted for TARP 1. They voted for bank bailout. So I say let's not start the first 100 days. Let's start the first 200 days. And it's failed. I mean, it's a failure. It's an F-. We need to start over. And so what are we going to do to access credit outside banking?
What do you think? Go ahead.
That fellow understands more about what's going on than anybody I've heard in a long time on these talk shows.
Wow. John Rutledge, what do you think?
The Small Business Administration stuff has been a little bit of help, but on Saturdays, Dani and I do a show from noon till 2 o'clock with call-ins from real people in real businesses. We've got lots of people calling us. They all ask the same question: where can I get working capital to keep my business alive until my customers come back? Working capital is the thing. The second thing is taxes. Taxes in the cap-and-trade energy part of the legislation that Obama is behind will cost $10,000 a family and will cost small businesses a fortune. If you don't have a Learjet or you don't run a labor union, you are not getting represented in these policies.
Dani, is anything working?
Well, first of all, John and I talk with probably 8 500 to 1,000 people every couple of weeks that are entrepreneurs. They don't even want a government handout. They have too much pride, and they know they can get through this themselves. They don't even give a crap about that.
Exactly.
What they want is to not be taxed to death, and that's the biggest worry. This $730 million package comes out to about $552.02 per small business. So you tell me where that's going to help. Right now, this $255 million for debt that's going to help companies float their debt, where is it? Unfortunately, getting to that money is next to impossible when banks are focused on lending when they get $1,000 for the government to refinance a mortgage.
Okay, so is there anything differently, Patrick, that could be done here? In other words, we've tried a number of different programs. This panel, at least, agrees that those programs aren't working the way that you'd like to have them work. But what would you do different?
John, Danny, great to see you on again. I would say this is like if somebody has a broken leg or the whooping cough or the swine flu, they can live for days or weeks or months. When their heart stops pumping, they've got a couple minutes. The heart, the oxygenated blood of the American small businessman, large businessman or person is the credit system.
Right.
The only way to fix that is to understand we got to take the big banks, with the exception of Wells Fargo, who I think is good, but most of the other big banks, Bank of America, Citigroup, got to be fed through the mulcher and spread on the flower beds for the good regional banks to grow up and
What does that
absorb.
mean? You're saying nationalize them or just break them up? What are you saying?
I'm saying supersize the FDIC and feed the large Wall Street banks through that.
Right.
And what comes out the other side, this is just what they did with the S&L disaster 20 years ago, which is really where I got my start in business. What comes out the other side, small business people feed at the regionals. The regional banks, many of them didn't take part in any of the nonsense. They would grow and flourish. And so that's what they should be doing.
Okay.
And I disagree. They're not focusing on that.
All right, so would something like that, Sean, help a guy like you?
Well, first off, thankfully, I'm operating on positive cash flow, and I don't need credit. But let me give you an example of what happened to a friend of mine yesterday. He emails me and says that Bank of America lowered his credit limit unilaterally. They could do it as part of the deal. He emailed wanting to know the name of a good bankruptcy lawyer. Another friend of mine yesterday had his credit limit lowered from $12 million to $8 million, and these people are going out of business because the banks are changing the deals midstream. They're getting the cash from us taxpayers, and then they're doing what the FDIC says they should do by shoring up their balance sheets. And then they're not loaning on net worth, they're loaning on equity, and so these people are going to be going out of business. So what we have to do is develop access to capital outside traditional banking systems. And if that means that we need to completely revamp the SBA, I think we should do it. We have the skeletal means to do that with the SBA.
Right.
The other thing we could do is venture capital without the venture. How about just capital? Groups of businesses banding together, loaning small business money, and not having an equity stake.
What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, people are already doing some of this. They're getting together on sites like Virgin Money, and they're getting together on blog talk forums, and they're trying to help one another share expenses, maybe float each other's payroll for a month. I agree completely. We hear stories like this all the time. The bank should not be allowed to change the rules midstream. That's a consistent problem.
In general, that's a complaint you hear a lot. Don't change the rules in the middle of the game. All right, guys, before we let you go, we want to rate the president's approach to small business overall. You know how the program works. Buy, sell, or hold. Patrick Byrne, you first. Buy, sell, or hold?
Sell. On that, I'll sell.
You're a flat-out seller on that. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah.
I say sell, and I've been saying it since October.
All right, so we have two sells. We're getting a lot of sells tonight. Danny?
I don't have my card, so does this count for sell?
Would you watch your mouth? I mean, I know you and Rutledge together. I'm afraid to ask him, so you won't even show what she held
Sell minus.
So, is that just say
Sell minus.
Thank you, John. See, at least you've kept to the FCC standards this time. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. And again, we do want to know what you guys think out there on the first 100 days of this Obama administration. Overall, 100 days in, is this administration, has it been a buy, sell, or hold? Text the word buy, sell, or hold to 369-249, and we will have the results later on in the program.